Good morning. My name is Wan Pham. It is my honor, on behalf of the organizer, to welcome everyone to the Roundtable Conference on the Vietnam referendum and the invasion of Vietnam Ocean territory by China. Due to limited technical access, some of our interfaith council in Vietnam could not be seen, but they can watch and follow us along the program and pray with us. To begin our event, I would like to present Pastor Hoàng Hoa Nguyen to deliver the opening prayer through a video.
Trong giờ phút thiêng liêng này, toàn thể chúng con hiệp lại kính dâng lên Thiên Chúa là Cha tạo hóa và các đấng chí tôn lời nguyện cầu. Xin ơn trên soi sáng giúp đỡ cho công việc chúng con làm vì tương lai của Tổ quốc Việt Nam và đồng bào thân yêu từ khởi sự cho đến hoàn thành được tràn đầy hồng ân. Tạ ơn Cha toàn năng đã trao cho dân tộc Đông Nam Á chúng con một vùng biển rộng lớn và trao riêng cho dân tộc Việt Nam chúng con dùng đặc quyền kinh tế, giàu tài nguyên thiên nhiên để giúp chúng con nuôi sống nhau, góp phần bảo vệ hòa bình và làm đường giao thông hàng hải quốc tế chung. Nhưng từ 70 năm nay, bạo quyền Tàu Cộng có tham vọng muốn độc quyền chiếm lấy và quản lý vùng biển đang thái bình này làm của riêng họ. Vì thế, xin Thiên Chúa toàn năng và đấng Chí tôn chúc lành cho hội nghị của chúng con ngày hôm nay hiệp lại tìm đường ngăn chặn tham vọng bá quyền của Trung Cộng và đưa chúng ra trước công lý quốc tế. Chúng con xin hiệp lại và thành kính nguyện cầu và tạ ơn Thiên Chúa và các đấng Chí tôn muôn đời. Chúng con thành kính có dâng. Amen.
The event today is featured with special guest speaker, followed by the panel discussion with honorable guests, religious and community leaders from Vietnam and many countries. We will have the opportunity to learn more about our guests during the program today. There are over 1 million Vietnamese and 85 organizations counting on us. So this is a very important event. We are very honored and fortunate to have a large number of news and media agencies to join our conference also. We have the Wall Street Journal, the South China Morning Post, the Independent Journalists Association of Vietnam, Trẻ or Youth Magazine, Dân Văn or People Literature Magazine, Saigon Dallas, 1600 AM Radio, SBTN Texas TV, SBTN DC TV, Đàn Chim Việt, Chuyển Hóa, and Non Sông Việt YouTube channel. And to facilitate, Mrs. Linh Nguyen will be one of the moderators guiding us through the event. She is an attorney and advocate for the advancement of freedom of religion and the restoration of human rights and dignity in Southeast Asia, especially for Vietnam.
Good morning, USA. Good day, everybody. And thank you, Anh. Thank you, Pastor Hoàng Hoa, for the delivery of the meaningful prayer. Thank you, Father Thaddeus Nguyễn Lý, for the offering of the prayer. Welcome all to this important roundtable conference of the Vietnam's referendum and the South China Sea, organized by 86 organizations. And please keep your video, the panelists, your video active. Please welcome my co-moderator, Mr. Vũ Hoàng Hải.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Vũ Hoàng Hải is a former prisoner of conscience and the international representative of Bloc 8406. a unified coalition of political groups in Vietnam that advocates for democratic reforms. It is named after the date of the group's manifesto on freedom and democracy for Vietnam in 2006, declaring the need for democratic reforms in Vietnam. Our special speakers today are the Honorable Stephanie Murphy, the Honorable Ron Wright, the Honorable John Cornyn, the Honorable Mark Warner, the Honorable Ted Yoho, the Honorable Alan Lowenthal, and the Honorable Ro Kahong. Let me first introduce the 5 co-chairs of the Interfaith Council of Vietnam for opening remarks. They lead the 5 major independent religions in Vietnam. They are the conscientious dissenters of the mandatory registration of churches. Their independent voices are being systematically silenced and replaced with state-sponsored churches. They advocate for the separation of church and state and the freedom of religion in Vietnam. They are the Most Venerable Thích Công Tánh Buddhist Church, Father Thaddeus Nguyễn Văn Lý Catholic Church, Subdignitary Hữu Phi Cao Đài Church, Pastor Nguyễn Hoàng Hoa Lutheran Church, Mr. Lê Văn Sóc Hòa Hảo Church. Father Nguyễn Văn Lý is a Roman Catholic priest and a dissident involved in many pro-democracy movements, for which he was imprisoned for a total of 15 years. For his ongoing imprisonment and continuous nonviolent protest, Amnesty International adopted Father Lý as a prisoner of conscience. Most recently, his support for the Bloc 8406 manifesto has been led to his sentence on March 2000 for an additional years in prison, where he was released but then returned again in 2011. Father Lý is a co-chair of the Interfaith Council of Vietnam. Pastor Nguyễn Hoàng Hoa, President of the Protestant Lutheran Community of Vietnam, co-chair of the Interfaith Council, co-chair of the United Council of Vietnamese in Homeland and Overseas. Subdignitary Hữu Phi dedicated his life to Cao Đài religion since he was 12. He was imprisoned in 1979 and under permanent arrest since for speaking out against the Vietnamese Communist government for its indictment against Cao Đaism and the elimination of the Cao Đài Church. Subdignitary Hữu Phi is a subdignitary for the Representative Committee of the Popular Bloc of Cao Đài Church in 1996. Along with other leaders of the independent religions, he co-founded and is co-chair of the Interfaith Council of Vietnam. Since being an organizer of this referendum, he has been interrogated, blocked communication, and an independent Cao Đài Church has been under attack. Mr. Lê Văn Sóc, Vice President of the Central Leadership Committee of the Traditional Hòa Hảo Buddhist Church and Chairman of the Interfaith Council of Vietnam. The Most Venerable Thích Công Tánh is the Vice President of the Sangha of the Unified Buddhist Church of Vietnam and co-chair of the Interfaith Council of Vietnam. He is a member of the Unified Buddhist Church of Vietnam since 1975, or before 1975, working alongside the Most Venerable Thích Nguyện Quang and Thích Quang Do for human rights, religious freedom, and revival of the UBCV. The Most Venerable Thích Công Tánh was imprisoned 3 times for 16 years and has been under detention till today. In 2010, he formed the Interfaith Council of Vietnam with leaders of other faiths. He also founded the Organization of Former Vietnamese Prisoner of Conscience. On September 8, 2016, the Vietnamese Communist government demolished his Linh Chi temple. He and 4 fellow Buddhist monks have been exiled in their own country. Representing the Interfaith Council of Vietnam, the Most Venerable Thích Công Tánh will deliver the opening remarks. Ban tổ chức xin kính mời Hòa Thượng Thích Công Tánh, đại diện Hội đồng Liên Tôn,
Chúng tôi là Hòa Thượng Thích Không Tánh từ trong nước. Chúng tôi xin thay mặt cho Hội đồng Liên tôn Việt Nam xin trân trọng kính lời chào mừng đến toàn thể quý hội nghị. Kính thưa toàn thể hội nghị, căn cứ theo lịch sử hai quần đảo Trường Sa và Hoàng Sa thuộc chủ quyền và trong vùng đặc quyền kinh tế của Việt Nam, Trung Cộng đã liên tục vi phạm chủ quyền của Việt Nam trái với Công ước Liên Hiệp Quốc năm 1962 về luật biển và ngang nhiên coi thường các phán quyết năm 2016 của Tòa trọng tài thường trực tại The Hague. Lợi dụng đại dịch coronavirus, Đảng Cộng sản Trung Cộng đã phơi bày sự gian dối trước thế giới qua hành động bán quân sự và chính trị để buộc Việt Nam phải từ bỏ chủ quyền lãnh thổ và thay đổi hoàn toàn hiện trạng. Các hành động của họ là mối đe dọa rõ rệt đối với an ninh khu vực và luật lệ giao thông hàng hải quốc tế. Trong 3 tháng, từ tháng 5 đến tháng 8 năm 2020, 86 tổ chức tôn giáo và xã hội đã tổ chức một cuộc trưng cầu dân ý ở Việt Nam với câu hỏi: trước sự xâm lược của Trung Quốc tại Biển Đông, bạn nghĩ Việt Nam có nên kiện Trung Quốc ra tòa án quốc tế không? Đã có gần 1.200.000 người Việt đã tham gia, với 95% số người được hỏi đều muốn có một hành động pháp lý đối với Trung Cộng tại các tòa án quốc tế. Cuộc trưng cầu dân ý có sự tham gia của dân chúng trên tất cả 68 tỉnh thành, với số lượng cao nhất là từ Hà Nội, thứ nhì là tại Sài Gòn, và tỷ lệ cao nhất là từ các vùng biên giới với Trung Cộng. Nam giới thì khoảng 56%, nữ giới có 44%, trên 65% là từ tuổi từ 16 đến 24. Cuộc trưng cầu dân ý đã tiếp cận được 5.077.467 người, với 2.762.598 lượt tương tác, 16.000 bình luận thuận và nghịch và 4.400 lượt chia sẻ trên mạng xã hội. Theo thống kê, mức khả tín của cuộc trưng cầu dân ý này là đến 99% người dân Việt Nam đã lên tiếng trong ôn hòa bất bạo động. Hôm nay chúng tôi có vinh dự được truyền đạt cái nguyện vọng của người dân Việt Nam đó đến diễn đàn quốc tế và sự quan tâm của toàn thể quý vị. Nam mô A Di Đà Phật. Xin trân trọng kính chào toàn thể hội nghị.
A quick translation of his remarks. Historically, the Spratly Parcel Islands are under the sovereignty of the exclusive economic zone of Vietnam. China has continually violated Vietnamese sovereignty in the contravention of the 1982 United Nations Convention of the Land of the Law of the Sea and blatant disregard to the 2016 rulings of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague. Taking advantage of the corona pandemic, the Chinese Communist Party is attempting to present the world with a fait accompli by taking paramilitary and political actions that trespass into Vietnam's territorial rights in an effort to alter the status quo. China's action presents a clear threat to regional security and international maritime law. For 3 months, from May to August 2020, 84 religious and civic NGOs have administered a referendum in Vietnam to solicit the opinions of the Vietnamese people on whether to sue China for its aggression. Close to 1.2 million Vietnamese participated, with 95% of the respondents in favor of legal actions against China in international courts. The referendum has participation of 68 provinces and cities, in the largest number from Hanoi. Second largest is from Saigon, and the highest ratios are from the border provinces with China. Male is 56%, female 44%. More than 65% is from the age of 16 to 24. The referendum reached 5.1 million people with 2.8 engagements and 16,000 comments for and against, and 4.4 thousand shares on social network. Statistically, the referendum confidence level is 99%. The voices of the Vietnamese people have been raised in a peaceful yet defiant expression of civil disobedience. Today, we have the honor to bring it to the international forum and your attention. Thank you, Most Venerable Thích Công Tánh, Father Nguyễn Văn Lý, Dignitary Hứa Phi, Pastor Hoàng Hoa, and Mr. Lê Vinh Sok for the opening remarks. Our honored guests are Congressman Stephanie Murphy, Congressman Ron Wright, Congressman Alan Lowenthal, Congressman Ted Yoho, Senator Cornyn, and Senator Warner. We will open for question and answer after their remarks and statement. We encourage that you submit questions in the chat room. Please include the organization that you're representing. First, I'd like to introduce Congressman Stephanie Murphy. U.S. Congressman Stephanie Murphy represents Florida's 7th Congressional District of the U.S. House of Representatives. The district includes all of Seminole County and much of northern Orange County, including downtown Orlando. She currently serves on the influential House Ways and Means Committee, where she is a member of the Subcommittee of Trade and Subcommittee of Worker and Family Support. Congressman Murphy holds MS in Foreign Service from Georgetown University and a BA in Economics from College of. Please welcome.
Xin cảm ơn ban tổ chức đã mời tôi tham dự hôm nay. Thank you to the Voice of Vietnamese Americans for inviting me, and a huge shout out and thank you to Jeannie for organizing today's event. I'm Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy, and I proudly represent Central Florida in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Yes, I'm in the market right now.
I'm incredibly proud
I'm
immigrant
not very open to
American citizen. And my story is one that could have only happened here in America. And as I tell it, I'm sure it will resonate with many of you today. When I was just a baby, my family fled the communist-led Socialist Republic of Vietnam to escape persecution and to seek a better future. It was a huge risk given how young my brother and I were at the time. But my parents had decided it was better to die in search of freedom than to live on together in darkness. And my story could have stopped there. We almost didn't make it. We ran out of fuel and food and were hopelessly adrift at sea. And thankfully, we were rescued by the US Navy, which helped us reach a Malaysian refugee camp. And from there, a Lutheran church in Virginia sponsored our passage to the United States, where we eventually became proud American citizens. And like many of you who found sanctuary in the United States, I possess a deep well of gratitude for this country. My patriotism is rooted in the fact that were it not for the combination of American power and American generosity, my family's story likely would have ended in tragedy. So it's little wonder that some of the most faithful citizens in the United States are immigrants. And now, as a member of Congress, I'm honored to help the United States continue to fulfill its promise as the land of freedom and opportunity. And I'm working to end harmful and inhumane immigration policies and to improve our visa system. And I'm fighting to help families and workers and businesses weather this devastating pandemic. And I'm seeking to restore US leadership on the global stage, to strengthen our relationship with allies in Asia and Europe, and to stand up for American interests in the face of aggression from China and Russia. The United States was built by immigrants from across the world who shared a common belief that all people deserve to be free and to have an equal opportunity to succeed in life. And for many of us, the upcoming election will be a time to reflect on our own family's experiences as immigrants. Simply put, we need leaders at all levels of government who will have the basic decency of respecting the life, the sacrifices, and the contributions of those who come to this country seeking liberty and opportunity. I'm so proud to see the Vietnamese American community come together today to discuss such an important topic. Thank you all for your contributions and for having me here today. Please stay safe and be well.
Congressman Alan Lowenthal is serving his 4th term in the U.S. House of Representatives, representing California's 47th District, which encompasses portions of eastern Los Angeles County and western Orange County, which includes Little Saigon. In Congress, he serves both the House of Natural Resources Committee and in the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. He is the chairman of the HNRC's Energy and Mineral Resource Subcommittee. Congressman co-chairs the Congressional Caucus on Vietnam. The Congressional Caucus on Vietnam is dedicated to fight for civil, political, and religious freedom for the citizens of Vietnam. Please welcome Congressman Alan Lowenthal.
Thank you. I hope that you can all hear me. If you can, I want to welcome everyone and say I'm Congressman Alan Lowenthal, and I too want to thank the organizers of today's roundtable conference on Vietnam's referendum and the South China Sea for inviting me to share a few remarks. I want to applaud the extraordinary efforts of the 85 organizations, Vietnamese religious and civil organizations from Vietnam and from around the world for holding an online opinion poll which ran from May of 2020 to August of 2020, asking the question of whether the Vietnamese people worldwide, whether they should sue the Chinese Communist Party in an international tribunal for its aggression in the East Sea, or what we also know, or it's known as the South China Sea. I understand that over 1.2 million Vietnamese participated in the poll, and 95% of the respondents favored legal action against China in the international courts. I want to congratulate all the organizations involved in this achievement and the resounding result. You know, I'm proud to have supported your efforts back in July when Secretary of State Mike Pompeo issued a statement clarifying that the United States position on maritime claims in the South China Sea, in which that statement reaffirmed that the PRC has no legal grounds to unilaterally impose its will on the region. I welcomed that statement. Following the United States, Australia made a declaration to the United Nations in which it rejected China's claims to historic rights or maritime rights and interests via the 9-dashed line over the South China Sea. I hope more countries will join the United States and Australia on this. As you know, in July of 2016, an arbitral tribunal constituted under the 1982 Law of the Sea Convention, to which the People's Republic of China is a state party, rejected the People's Republic of China's maritime claims as having no basis in international law. We must hold China accountable to that decision by the International Court. Vietnam has historically claimed the Paracel and Spratly Islands as part of its territory. In 1974, the People's Republic of China invaded the Paracel Islands and has occupied those islands until today. In 1988, China also invaded and took control of the Johnson South Reef from Vietnam. Today, China continues to bully countries in Southeast Asia and to expand its unilateral claims and to militarize its presence in the South China Sea. I will continue to champion the voice and concerns of the Vietnamese American community, especially the Vietnamese Americans in my congressional district. I join you in standing up against the PRC's aggression in Vietnam's East Sea. Lastly, as the co-chair of the Congressional Caucus on Vietnam, and also as an executive committee member of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission, I am very, very concerned with the latest development in Vietnam, where the courts have just given an extremely harsh sentence to the people and activists in the Dong Tam village, including death sentences for the two sons of Mr. Lee Din King, who was killed in an altercation with the police. I will be communicating with our State Department to understand what happened and what is going to be the response from the United States. Human rights violations in Vietnam must stop. Thank you, and I congratulate all of the organizers and my colleagues for participating in this round table conference.
Thank you, Congressman Lowenthal. Thank you for your continued support, and I'm sure we'll be visiting you at Little Saigon soon.
Thank you.
Congressman Ted Yoho represents North Central Florida's 3rd Congressional District. He was elected to the 113th Congress in November 2012 and won re-election for his 4th term in the 106th Congress. Prior to serving in Congress, he was a small business owner who operated several large animal veterinarian practice for 30 years. During his successful career, he established a reputation of accountability and service. Born in Minnesota, Ted moved to South Florida, where he met his wife, Carolyn, in the 4th grade and married her at age 19. He graduated in 1983 with his bachelor degree in animal science and doctorate of veterinary medicine. Ted and Carolyn are proud parents of 3 children. Please welcome Congressman Yoho.
Thank you for that kind introduction and for the opportunity to join all you virtually today. It's great to see such a diverse grouping of people and organizations all interested in respecting international territorial claims and international law, and I commend my colleagues, Congressman Lowenthal and Murphy, for the great words that they said. They've been champions of Vietnam since I've been in Congress. Excuse me. Over the past decade, and especially over the past year, China has used its growing economic and military strength not to empower its neighbor in the region or the world at large, but to empower themselves. They bully, harass, intimidate, threatening to cut off critical supply chain components to other nations to force those nations to bow down and become complacent in China's demands. This approach is especially clear in relation to China's so-called 9-dash line, which enriches large portions of the South China Sea as China's exclusive economic zone and nearly touches Vietnam's own coastline. The Chinese have used this as justification for harassing and intimidating Vietnamese vessels operating in their own waters. They've even gone so far as to sink private fishing vessels by their nation's Coast Guard, only to leave those fishermen abandoned at sea. Thankfully, it seems that much of the Southeast Asia has had enough. I was pleased to see that out of over 1 million Vietnamese people voting in a recent referendum, 95% favored legal actions against China in the international courts over their actions in the East Sea and the South China Sea area. In addition, the government of Australia has taken a strong stand against China's false claims and provocations that disrupts the 70+ years of stability in the EC and beyond. To everyone here, please know that the United States stands with you in your support of a free and open maritime zones in the Southeast Asia and the EC, as well as your rights to your own respective exclusive economic zones. Just recently, the Trump administration agreed with the Vietnamese people and the Permanent Court of Arbitration at The Hague that China's claim in the South China Sea are illegitimate and illegal and will be supporting efforts to hold them accountable. Think about this. There are 9 historical dashed lines. They lay claims. The international law says, no, you don't. They're a signature of the law of the sea, but they don't abide by it. We're not a signature of the law of the sea agreement, but yet we abide by that. And for China to make a false claim to the 9 dashed lines and claim all that territory is theirs would be like us claiming all the moon because we were the first one there to put a flag on it. And that's not something that's going to happen. As we continue through the year, I hope that we see positive changes from a U.S.-Vietnam partnership in holding China accountable for its illegal actions in the South China Sea, and for Vietnam to continue to be an effective chair of ASEAN, and I commend you for that, an effective chair of ASEAN and leading the region. Again, I ask that Vietnam, as the chair of ASEAN, consider a way to unite the bloc as one voice to help China understand that their attempts at intimidation and disregard for international law and sovereignty of other nations can no longer be acceptable. This is not to punish China, but to empower all nations to build a stronger and safer future for their citizens and their nations to enjoy freedom and liberty, including religious freedom. I want to thank you again for the effort that you have put forth to have such a strong, credible voice and a vote to say enough is enough. One country cannot stand up against China by themselves, but us united as a bloc that stands up for liberty and freedom and religious rights, we can stand up together to make sure that our future generations will be able to prosper as we have. And I commend Vietnam for the tremendous job that you've done, and I thank you for this opportunity to be here. Thank you.